Today we're going to be talking about COVID, the second wave, and everything that you need to know to make this the absolutely best time for your vegan activism. Where did this idea come from? We all started off getting a bit fed up with COVID and the masks and the social distancing, but there was something even worse that happened in the first lockdown. We as vegans just didn't make the most of our opportunities to organise and to make a significant difference for other animals. This time it can be different. Now we know the reality of what it was like to be in a lockdown. We've been through it once, and maybe we can now make the most of this opportunity, not trying to minimise the whole COVID thing in any way. It's tragic, 44,000 people in the UK have already passed away with it, and plus loads of people that are left with long-term health effects. So there's no way we're trying to minimise this. But why didn't people wake up and smell the coffee the first time round? We vegans did, but the politicians, the general public, they don't want to recognise realities of what was going on. We're talking about the animal death industry. This global pandemic has been caused by people doing what vegans have said people shouldn't be doing, eating and using other animals. We've been saying this for decades. People have been ignoring it. And we've got the pandemic, COVID-19, caused by the transmission, as we all know now, from animals to humans. People didn't listen the last time. Maybe if we get really organised, they can listen to us and hear us. Because last time there's a lot of stuff, vegan YouTubers pouring out stuff about pangolins and bats and zoonotic transmission. And I remember having this vague ray of vegan hope that, wow, maybe this is, people will listen to us. They're not going to buy into the animal rights stuff or the animal liberation stuff. Surely they're going to buy into their own health and dying stuff. I did have that hope, and I'm sure a lot of you guys did as well. We did believe then for a few moments that a vegan world could be possible. We had a dream, but then suddenly it all went back to normal, and that vegan dream evaporated. It's as though it never even happened. Now, with the so-called second wave and more lockdowns coming, whatever country you're in, we've got the prospect of a really scary winter. And all the badness that happened last time, which was coming into spring and summer, is now going to be compounded by the lower temperatures and people being more vulnerable because of that. And there's been no real change in people's attitudes to using and consuming other animals. But this time, we can organise and make a difference. In the UK, as I said, there have been 44,000 deaths so far. In the US, it's over 200,000. And globally, it's a lot more. All because people choose to eat animal bodies, and because of the neoliberal ideology and propaganda that talks about endless growth. Well, what they mean is endless profit for the billionaires and the corporate elites. This is what's at the root of the COVID-19 pandemic. And maybe that's why people are finding it so hard to get any traction on the vegan aspect of things. As our friend Dr. Michael Greger says, he's written a paper called Shut Down the Flu Factories. And he means the slaughterhouses. I would say, how about shut down the COVID factories? Quite a few academics have weighed in on the COVID front. In one paper, Can We Handle the Truth of What COVID-19 is Telling Us? We've got Professor James Markham, Professor of Philosophy at Baylor University in Texas. And he says, speciesism is the cause of capitalist eco-terrorism. The animal agriculture industry, through its advertising and lobbying, conceals and denies its violence. The result is that most people consider their intake of meat and other livestock-based products as their right, derived from their status as the superior species. I like that framing of capitalist eco-terrorism because that's basically what's going on. It's the same advertising and lobbying bodies that are responsible for the 60% increase in global meat consumption and body parts consumption in the last 2 decades. Got another academic weighing in. Emeritus Professor David Webers. He's Emeritus Professor of Neurology at the Mayo Clinic. And his paper is called what the COVID-19 crisis is telling humanity. Now, these are all academics, serious people in a peer-reviewed paper. This is why it's very interesting to hear what they've got to say, not just some sort of like random vegan YouTuber. So Professor Woyebas says, the planet is in a global health emergency, exacting enormous medical and economic tolls. It is imperative for us as a society and a species to focus and reflect deeply upon what this and other related health crises are telling us about our role in these increasingly frequent events, pandemics, and what we can do to prevent them in the future. He continues, failure to do so may result in the unwitting extermination of all or a good part of our species. Serious person, serious academic, talking about humans making themselves extinct. Although it is tempting for us to lay the blame for pandemics such as COVID-19 on bats, pangolins, or other wild species, it is human behaviour that is responsible for the vast majority of zoonotic diseases that jump the species barrier from other animals to humans. Our species has come to the edge of a cliff, and the COVID-19 pandemic is forcing us to make a choice between changing our thinking and practice in these realms, i.e. animal agriculture, or facing increasing destruction and perhaps self-annihilation. We need to have the vision, wisdom and compassion to address fundamental causes and act now to mitigate the numerous disasters that are literally waiting to happen. Intensive confining of other animals in factory farm operations should be discontinued worldwide for the sake of other animals, humans and the environment, and we should rapidly evolve to eating other forms of protein. So that's a professor saying stop it now. And Dr. Michael Greger, nutritionfacts.org, says factory farms are a public health menace. It's not worth risking the lives of millions of people for the sake of cheaper meat. I love Dr. Michael Greger and nutritionfacts.org, but basically it's not just about cheaper cuts of so-called meat. It's about the neoliberal paradigm, as I said before, of endless growth, endless profit for the billionaire class and the corporate elites at the cost of trillions of other animals, our planet, and now people that are dying because of COVID-19. That's what's going on, a public health menace. Factory farms are a public health menace. It's not only vegans, professors. The American Journal of Public Health has also questioned the lies of animal agriculture. So again, American Journal of Public Health is probably not, a super vegan oriented source. But it says it's curious that changing the way that humans treat other animals, most basically ceasing to eat them, is largely off the radar as a significant preventative measure for emerging pandemic viruses. So again, they can't kind of figure it out. Another serious journal of serious people who think about pandemics and public health all the time, and they can't figure out it's like the elephant in the room that people talk about. The elephant in the room is animal agriculture, so-called, the animal death industry. Why don't people just shut it down? Why can't we even talk about it? So, what do we as vegans who are locked down, struggling with our competing demands of kids, of jobs, no job, maybe we're worried about losing our houses or our income. It's a difficult time, it's a stressful time coming up to the long winter with COVID. Maybe there'll be more lockdowns. What about our own health? What about family members' health? What do we need to do? Why was I talking about this as an opportunity for vegans? Number one, we need to mobilise in our communities, whether that's work, home, social, vegan or non-vegan, whether they're faith communities or sports communities. We need to raise awareness of the link between the animal death industry and COVID-19. We just need to be starting to raise this issue in a strong way as we go into the second wave. The second thing that we can do is contact vegan groups like the Vegan Society, Animal Aid, Viva, or part of franchise activism. We want to talk to them about what can we do to raise the profile of the link between animal agriculture, the animal death industry, and the pandemic. Why is nobody talking about the possibility of shutting down all animal agriculture. Third thing that we can do is to contact our MPs, most of whom will not be vegan, and raise the same issue with them. Maybe the animal charity groups can actually start to have like one of those formatted letters, like a petition. Fourth thing we could do is to actually contact our local media and blast social media properly and concertedly and say, look, we need to shut down so-called animal agriculture. We're now in the second lockdown, we're moving into a second lockdown, the second wave. How many more people need to die? Maybe it'd be local television as well, maybe local newspapers. Not expecting open arms, rapturous applause, but you never know. Framing it as a basic measure of public health, I think, is a really interesting position to have, because that's what it is, and nobody's really talking about that. The fifth thing that would be really good to do would be to build alliances with other local social justice and activist groups. They're the same things, the same message: shut it down, public health crisis. Why is this not being talked about and considered in a serious way? And then the sixth thing, which I think is the most important thing that we can do, is to commit to daily ongoing actions to create the change that we want to see. We need to think, we need to plan, and then we need to take action. It sounds like a lot, and of course it is, because basically we're up against an exploitative, speciesist, human supremacist culture, which has been shored up by the toxic billionaire and corporate class who benefit and promote the propaganda of neoliberal ideology. Endless growth equals endless profit. Who are we? We don't have the time. We make time. Don't have the money. But we can improvise. We don't know what to do, how to organise ourselves. But we have videos. I've got other organising videos on my channel, and we'll be doing more organising videos with Ronnie Lee. We've already got 2 more set up. We just need to get stuck in. There's a reason why fighting for social change is called the struggle, because it is. It's a struggle. But then life is a struggle, isn't it? So it's just more of life. Thank you for your kind attention today. It's really been great talking with you. This is Pamela from Animal Justice Emergency. Together we can organise, stop the war on other animals. If you want to see some of the other videos, they'll be flagged up here, here and here. And in the comments below, we'd love to hear what you think about the comments. Don't forget to subscribe and like and do all that sort of YouTubery stuff thing. My cat is yowling now, so I'm going to have to sign off.